versus Chad Dawson later tonight. But now to the big men. Sam Peter versus Vitali Klitschko. Al, some say this was the most significant heavyweight fight in years. Why?
I think part of that is the fact that when he left the sport almost 4 years ago, the consensus was that Vitali Klitschko was the best heavyweight out there. And then you throw in the fact that Sam Peter is always the X factor in the heavyweight division. He looks like a man ready to take control of it with his power and his sheer strength. And today, he tries to do that in a very hostile environment in Germany.
All right, we also want to mention, we'll hear from our colleague and Showbox analyst Steve Farhood, who's on hand at the O2 World Arena in Berlin, Germany. So coming up, get set for Sam Peter versus Vitali Klitschko for the WBC heavyweight title, as Al and I called it earlier today.
Unbelievable action with authority. Oh, big right hand. And down he goes. Incredible action. I don't believe it.
Ladies and gentlemen, meine Damen und Herren, willkommen. Welcome to O2 World Berlin, where tonight, Duva Boxing, Don King Productions, and K2 Promotions are proud to present the main event of the evening. 12 rounds of boxing for the WBC Heavyweight Championship of the World. Sanctioned by the BDB President Dr. Bodo Ekman, WBC President Jose Suleiman. At ringside, the three judges scoring this contest, should it go the distance. From England, John Keane. From Japan, Ken Morita. And from Thailand, Anek Hongtongkam. And inside the ring, the man in charge of the action at the bell, from Italy, your referee, Massimo Barrovecchio. And now, meine Damen und Herren, Dame Gospoda, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble! Fighting out of the blue corner, wearing black with gold, official weight 112 kilos, professional record 37 fights, 35 victories including 34 knockouts and 2 defeats. From Kiev, Ukraine, WBC champion emeritus and official mandatory challenger, the former two-time heavyweight champion of the world, Dr. Iron Fist, Vitali Klitschko. And fighting out of the red corner, wearing white with blue, official weight 115 kilos, professional record 31 fights, 30 victories, including 23 knockouts, only 1 defeat, training and fighting out of Las Vegas, Nevada. He is the fighting pride of Nigeria, presenting the reigning, defending WBC heavyweight champion of the world, the Nigerian Nightmare, Samuel Peter.
Please remember that I said in dressing room, no headbutts, no rabbit punch, no low blow, and no kidney punch. Okay, good luck, shake your hands.
Two very large guys in a fight that can end at any moment. Combined KO ratio of 84%. Peter very dangerous early. 15 of his 23 knockouts within the first two. Of course, some highlight reel knockouts. And all 7 of Klitschko's world title fights, win or lose, ended by knockout. A crowd of over 12,000 on hand behind their hero, former champ Vitali Klitschko. Immediately noticeable, Al, the height difference. Klitschko 6'7", Peter 6 feet and a half. Also noticeable, Klitschko a bit grayer than the last time he fought, which was December of 2004.
The big question, of course, the layoff for Vitali Klitschko, ring rust. But, you know, Sam Peter's not the kind of fighter who presses fights right from the get-go. And I'll tell you, Klitschko is looking very sharp in his first round. One of the big punches he's using is the left hook, which he saw his brother Vladimir hurt Peter with. Oh, he can land the hook anytime he wants, just like his brother did. He's got Peter wobbled.
And a big right hand by Vitali Klitschko to the head of Sam Peter here in the opening round. The 37-year-old challenger, 9 years older than Peter. And given Klitschko's history of injuries, many consider it an upset. He even made it to the ring.
You know, Sam Peter's getting hit with everything here in round one. He doesn't fight well against big, tall fighters who fight tall, and that's what Klitschko's doing. Remember, Jamil McCline hurt Peter early, and that's what Klitschko's doing.
Peter's been knocked off balance. Good left hook to the side of the head of Sam Peter. A very, very good opening round for Vitali Klitschko. His first fight in nearly 4 years, or 1,400 days.
As great a first round as Klitschko's having here, we remind you that McCline had Peter all but out, and he was able to hang in there. He's very resilient.
A lot of people surprised Klitschko didn't take a warm-up fight before this one, but he is starting very fast. Perhaps he just didn't want to risk getting hurt again. Under a minute remaining in the opening round, scheduled for 12 for the WBC Heavyweight Championship.
Sam Peter is not jabbing his way in at all. He's giving Klitschko nothing to think about, and that's why Klitschko is able to just pick him apart with those punches.
Yeah, the big wonder how Klitschko would respond if he's hit flush. And with Peter, who can also hurt you, disorient you, with an unclean punch. And remember, Vitali Klitschko never down, never been dropped. So final seconds of round one. The crowd in Berlin chanting Klitschko's name. We head for the bell.
The guy's hitting you with a left hook right hand, okay? All right? You know if you throw your left hook some, you got to catch it, but you got to watch for the right hand, all right? Watch it, hit you with the left hook right hand. That's what he hit.
You know, Vitali Klitschko, when he put his head down and dreamt about how round one was going to go in his comeback, this is it. He used every weapon, the jab, straight right hand. He used a lot of left hooks during that round as well. Precision punching by Klitschko.
Started moving real good, all right?
So the first round clearly belonged to Vitali Klitschko. Let's see how Peter begins the second round.
One of the things Sam Peter would certainly like to do early in this match is go to the body. He's a pretty good body puncher, but he hasn't so far. And you'd want to do that against somebody coming back at age 37 off an almost 4-year layoff.
Again, it's Vitali Klitschko scoring with the left hook repeatedly. Now a little right uppercut on the inside and keeping his distance, his range from Sam Peter, who can land with that monster right. That is his signature punch.
They wanted Sam Peter to double jab his way in so he could move in and then punch from the inside. He hasn't thrown one jab at a time, let alone two.
You have to wonder, did Peter come in thinking to himself, I'll need a knockout to win? Could the judges, even though they're neutral, be influenced by the partisan crowd in Germany? The crowd will very much be a factor when Klitschko does anything.
Klitschko's accuracy here has been ridiculously good. I mean, he's landed just about everything he's thrown.
And you know, Peter, who finally lands a left hand, entered the fight in a very surly mood, but he's not fighting that way.
No, he felt disrespected by the promotion. Press conferences all in German. But there's not anger in the way he's fighting, and he's getting hit with everything by Klitschko.
Earlier in the week, he angrily ripped the WBC belt from Klitschko's hands. Klitschko holds the nebulous title of champion emeritus, and that has really ticked off Peter. Klitschko did not lose the belt in the ring. He gave it up, and many feel it doesn't entitle him to this fight. That said, he's winning it.
You know, when you're a big, tall fighter like Klitschko, and Sam Peter, who is shorter, doesn't attack the right way, it becomes a very easy fight for you, and right now that's exactly what it is. And Sam Peter's defensive liabilities, which he had improved on, are really out there for display now.
And Peter looking very sluggish here in the early going. Came in weighing 253, which isn't bad for him. It's just about 3 pounds after his last fight.
I don't remember the last time I saw a boxing match in which one fighter, nice right hand by Peter, landed such a high volume of punches as Klitschko is in these early rounds.
Peter coming into this fight looking at it as an inconvenience that I have to get through Vitali to get to Vladimir Klitschko. A return bout with Vladimir for revenge and unification.
Du musst zwischendurch ein bisschen provozieren. Aber aus Distanz stehen. Du kriegst ihn, dass vorbeischlägt und du kannst dann besser kontern. Jetzt hast du schon probiert, dich rauszudrehen, aber du kommst so hoch. Der rechte Aufwärtshand ist aber nicht voll drin. Ja? Nicht so fest. Immer wieder spielen, du musst nochmal spielen.
So a good look here at Sam Peter. He's got Stacy McKinley and Pops Anderson in his corner.
There's an example of the jab and straight right hand that Klitschko has been landing. He started out with the left hook, but now he's found a home for there's the double jab they want from Peter, and he'll come with the right hand frequently after that punch.
Stacy McKinley had Sam Peter chopping down trees in the Black Forest of Germany to get ready for this fight to increase his power, but the man who's doing the chopping right now is Vitali Klitschko. Vitali Klitschko determined to rewrite his legacy as we enter round 3, scheduled for 12 of the WBC heavyweight belt. Klitschko wants to fulfill his dream of joining his brother, Vladimir, as the only siblings ever to be heavyweight champions at the same time.
You know, Sam Peter is really not pressing Klitschko as much as he would like. So Klitschko, while he's throwing punches, is able to pace himself very much. So he's not being pressured enough, I don't think, for there to be an energy question as this fight goes on, unless he's really not in shape.
Now, this does not look like a man who is trying to take over the mantle as a true heavyweight superstar champion, talking about Peter, who has emerged to this point as a formidable force, primarily on his massive one-punch power, but we have yet to see it here.
And has shown steady improvement, Sam Peter. This is a bad stylistic matchup for him. He's going to need to land something significant.
He has had his problems with taller fighters in the past, although he did floor a journeyman, a 7-footer named Julius Long. That was his last first-round knockout, but this is not Julius Long in front of him.
The two most notable fights in which he struggled, Jamil McCline knocked down and hurt very badly early in the fight, did come back to win the decision against Vladimir Klitschko. He had Klitschko down several times, but was outboxed enough to lose a decision. He needs to cut the distance, Sam Peter, which he's doing, but then he needs to be busy when he is on the inside.
Peter coming forward a little more, but being attacked by that left jab of Vitali Klitschko.
Klitschko's leaning his head in. I mean, he's not even trying to be a defender.
A very languid Sam Peter over the first 2+ rounds. Tried a right hand there, but it was blocked. And Klitschko answers back with a series of blows.
So far, and I'm going to say so far, all of the technique improvements we saw from Sam Peter in some other fights have not been evident. He has really very much slipped back to the place where he was maybe 6-7 fights ago when people were disappointed in his technique.
Yeah, he was able to compensate for a lack of technique or polish with his brute strength. But we're not seeing anything right here.
And a reminder that Klitschko coming back after almost 4 years off. So as this fight wears on, there will be the question of at 37, can he sustain throughout an entire fight? And Peter would like to at least test him in that regard. And good body work by Peter, that's important for him.
The final seconds of round 3 ticking away. Vitali Klitschko's wife, Natalia, looking on in the crowd.
Relax. Do some ice. Listen. Take a deep breath, son. You're getting closer to him, okay? Get in your rhythm, all right?
Liege mal auf Anek. Mal weggehen, dann kannst du ihn gut kontern. Steht tiefer dabei, dass er rechte Aufwärtshake besser kommt. Hast du 2-3 Mal zu hoch angesetzt gehabt. Das ist Kraft angelegt. Du musst ihn zum Brustbein ziehen.
Vitali Klitschko, not just landing punches, but throwing combinations. That's the part I think that's so impressive. Look how low his hands are, and Sam Peter just not able to take advantage of him. That's a jab thrown from an odd angle. And some support from the crowd, from Natalia. She's, you know, showing concern, but no reason right now.
Well, from just about the very beginning of this fight, this has looked like a mismatch. The taller fighter, Vitali Klitschko, dictating all the action. Left jabs, left hook, straight rights. Showing a diversified attack against the champion, Sam Peter. Klitschko is favored, by the way.
And you know, when he fought Lennox Lewis, Vitali Klitschko was technically not sound in that fight. Had he been more technically sound, he might have won that fight. But in most of his other fights, he's been like this, throwing punches correctly, throwing some combinations, doing all the right things. That's what he's doing here tonight.
That was his only TKO loss. It was a result of a bad cut. And
even though he did land a lot of good punches in that fight.
I was just about to say, and he also quieted a lot of cynics in that fight by showing his ability to suck it up.
Yes, you're correct.
So great resolve in that fight.
Now, Sam Peter, we said, is resilient, but how much punishment can he take over the course of these rounds and keep ticking along? I mean, he has been hit with some monstrous shots already.
It's been so long since we've seen it, but Klitschko's money punch is the heavy right hand. So long since coming into this fight. He also has that good left hook. He's dropped people with it. And, of course, Sam Peter said to have a very sturdy chin up until the McLean fight when Jamil dropped him 3 times. But then he came back and took some vicious shots against Moscow. There's the right hand by Klitschko. Just drilling away at Peter.
Peter unable to close the distance between the two men. See, there's a good weapon for Peter. Even jab to the body, that's a good idea if you can work yourself in behind it, which Peter isn't doing right now.
And also Al Vitali, after being out for so long, has not lost his preciseness and his accuracy with his punch. He's always known as an accurate puncher. One of his staples. And Peter, of course, has showed himself available to be hit. So we'll see if it all comes together for Vitali.
Klitschko sparred with Sherman Williams, a very, very good journeyman heavyweight who very much resembles and can emulate Sam Peter. And I think that also helped him a little bit going into this fight.
Vitali Klitschko looking to keep that jab in Peter's face to set up the big right. Intelligent fighter. But he does have a habit of carrying that left hand low, and we're just wondering if Peter is waiting for the right moment to unleash the right.
Well, Steve, you hit on it. Sam Peter is fighting like a man who thinks one punch is the thing that's going to get it done, because he's not putting any punches together. And if you don't pressure Klitschko, the 37-year-old could continue to do this all night to you.
We'll get back to Peter Klitschko in a moment. A reminder, coming up next, Tarver Dawson for the IBF light heavyweight crown. The 39-year-old champion Antonio Tarver getting ready, always confident, brash, and outspoken. Nothing different here. But what is different now, time is running short. He knows that a loss tonight could be devastating. And with that, here's a look at tonight's poll question. Who will win Tarver versus Dawson? Text 1 for Tarver by knockout. Text 2 for Tarver by decision. Text 3 for Dawson by KO. Text 4 for Dawson by decision. And text 5 for a draw. Text your response to SHOTV. That's 74688. Standard text messaging rates apply. And right now, let's get it back to Peter versus Klitschko. And we begin round 5. Incidentally, open scoring for this fight, courtesy of the WBC. The scores announced to the people in the crowd after rounds 4 and 8. And the tally is 40-36 across the board for Vitali Klitschko.
Certainly no surprise. He has dominated every single round. And in between rounds, Stacy McKinley telling Sam Peter, you've got to break him down to the body. And I think that is the appropriate strategy at this juncture, because he's having a hard time getting to the head of Klitschko, but the body could be more available to him. He's got to start now.
And personally, just for the record, not a fan of open scoring. Over the course of his career, there have been different versions of Vitali Klitschko, the confident, intense, aggressive, even brawling Klitschko. And he was very fast-paced and spirited in his last fight versus Danny Williams back in 2004. But we've also seen a slow-paced, tentative, mechanical, robotic, defensive-minded, more tactical Vitali Klitschko.
You know, the interesting thing is, except for the fact that he put Vladimir Klitschko down, and the fact that Vladimir Klitschko didn't land as many punches as Vitali is landing, this is almost a carbon copy of his fight, of Peter's fight with Vladimir Klitschko. It's just that Vitali's doing so much better, and look at him land those combinations. But his brother controlled Peter with the jab, was able to work in the right hand and the left hook. It's a carbon copy of what Vladimir did against Peter.
The left eye of Peter continues to swell. Result of those right hands by Klitschko. And yeah, ironic, you talked about Vladimir as Sam Peter. And his manager, Ivalo Gotsev, ridiculed Vladimir for going down 3 times at the hands of Peter, yet Vlad was given the win. There's a good left hook upstairs by Klitschko. But then after Peter went down 3 times versus Jamil McLean and then outboxed McLean for the win, they said they understood that you can be dropped 3 times and still win.
It's true, those were similar situations. Sam Peter needs to make something happen, obviously, in this fight. Now he's starting to use the jab a little bit more, but he was not closing the distance. He is on the outside. He is in the absolute worst strategic situation that he could be in this fight.
Peter bleeding from the bottom lip. Vitali Klitschko in complete command here as we head to the bell, round 5 from Berlin.
You have to put pressure on this guy, okay? You have to fight this guy. You understand what I'm saying? You got to go to this guy and fight this guy. No, he said go to the cup.
They are happy all around the O2 arena, and Stacy McKinley not happy right now.
The guy's picking you apart, okay? You got to go out there and get rough and fight it. You understand? You got to fight it now. Step up quick with your jab.
The overhand right of Klitschko and the straight right have been very, very effective.
You can't stay out the end of these punches.
And
you got to go in.
Those are excellent punches. Those are right hands delivered with a lot of leverage. And, I mean, everything is landing. Those are 7 punches in a row, and much to the delight of his wife. Interestingly, she's showing concern, it seems, but there is none.
Well, she's a little out of practice. And here we go into round number 6. Scheduled for 12 for the WBC heavyweight title. Man, Peter had waited 16 months for the mandatory shot, and then he came through with a very impressive 6th-round knockout over Oleg Moskiev, but now he's frittering it away.
Yeah, and this is a dreadful night for him so far, and there is just no silver lining here so far. The only silver lining is that Sam Peter, we know, is a big puncher, and we know that at any moment he could land something major. It just doesn't look like he's setting himself up in a position to do it. In the last round, he did get one overhand right in, or put himself in position to throw it. He's not even throwing that punch.
Now, this is a guy who felt very disrespected. The press conference was in German. Vitali Klitschko had the belt, and Sam Peter being the champion, but once again not fighting like a guy who felt he was disrespected.
Sam Peter grabbed the belt away from Klitschko in that press conference, showing aggression that he has not yet shown here tonight.
This is a back slap there by Klitschko, Al.
You know, this is a bad stylistic matchup for Peter, but the thing that people wondered about was, could Klitschko perform as he did 4 years ago when he was recognized as probably the best heavyweight, better than his brother and better than the other competition? He's done so.
Klitschko continues to control the action, the pace, the tempo. A very tentative, cautious, sluggish Sam Peter. Looks like he's just waiting for that one drumming punch. He is, without question, always dangerous, no matter how he looks.
You know, when you look at Vitali Klitschko, he fights tall. He's a big, tall man. Notice how he very seldom leans his head in. There just a little, but for the most part, even when he lands punches, look how he backs up straight up. He Lennox Lewis, his brother a little bit with Emmanuel Stewart's help, they fight tall, and when they face a smaller fighter, it's very tough for the fighter like Peter to get something done.
And Vitali Klitschko is really looking superb because he's staying out of harm's way and landing. He's getting that right hand in, he's getting the jab in, things are landing, and then he gets out.
That's what Sam Peter needs to do. He didn't land that clubbing right as well as he would like, but he threw 3 punches at a time and threw an overhand right.
That's one of the problems he has with taller fighters. Very difficult to land that clubbing right, to get that fist all the way back behind the taller fighter's head. So that's a negative for Peter here.
It's not as if Klitschko's hands are high, you know?
Especially that left one, very low. We'll go back to Peter Klitschko momentarily. A reminder coming up next, Antonio Tarver-Chad Dawson for the IBF light heavyweight crown. And for a long while, undefeated Chad Dawson thought this night would never come. Well, here he is making final preparations for the most important fight of his career. Yep, it is now just a matter of minutes away, and the 26-year-old Dawson determined not to let this incredible opportunity slip away. And with that, a look at tonight's poll question. Who will win Tarver versus Dawson? Text 1 for Tarver by KO. Text 2 for Tarver by decision. Text 3 for Dawson by KO. 4 for Dawson by decision. And text 5 for a draw. Text your response to SHOTV. That's 74688. Standard text messaging rates apply. Now we go back to Peter versus Klitschko. It is round number 7. from Berlin, Germany, in a completely lopsided fight for the challenger and comebacking Vitali Klitschko.
There is absolutely no doubt that Vitali Klitschko has won every single round. There couldn't possibly be a difference of opinion on this, and if there is, whoever thinks Sam Peter won a round is very wrong. And right now, what they're telling Peter in the corner is to get to the body, rip shots there, and then try to go to the head, which is, of course, appropriate. He's just not able to execute right now.
And Al, if this does extend to the scorecards, overseas, particularly in locales like Germany, you really have to beat your opponent decisively to get the win.
Of course, there are international judges from all over the world, but there's just no question when fighters have gone to Germany from other locations, bad things happen to them. And right now, Sam Peter's not doing much to help his cause. The jab of Klitschko has been so effective. It started right from the beginning. The interesting thing to me is Klitschko came out throwing hooks. Now, there's one of the few hooks he's thrown in the last 6 rounds. He started out landing all those hooks, but then found he could land the right hand and didn't need the hook anymore.
And through the halfway point of this WBC heavyweight title fight, Sam Peter has not looked like the champion. Midway through the 7th, Peter has offered up little or no offense whatsoever.
And one of the byproducts of Sam Peter not being able to close the distance is, I don't know that we've had a clinch in this match.
Third man of the ring, Massimo Barrovecchio of Italy, has had an easy night. Good right hand there, right cross by Vitali Klitschko that connected.
Peter threw a nice left hook to the body, and you know, those have been so few and far between. It's really lack of aggressiveness as much as anything by Peter. He's giving Klitschko nothing to think about. Now he's throwing a few punches. You have to throw some punches, and he started out not doing it, Peter. And you know, there have been moments in his career where this has been a huge problem for him, never so much as it has tonight.
If anything, it's been more like a glorified sparring session for Vitali Klitschko, who just landed another right hand. The eyes swelling up, Sam Peter.
I don't know if Vitali Klitschko thought he could possibly produce as one-sided a fight as he is tonight.
Final seconds of round 7. All Klitschko.
You got to get your hands up close to your face, move your head, okay, and take this fight to this guy. You understand? You got to take this fight to this guy, son. You're losing the fight. Okay? You want to keep your title, you got to go out there and fight. You have to fight this
well,
guy, okay?
as they exhort Sam Peter to do something to keep his title, we see why they're saying that. The Klitschko punches from the outside have been very, very effective. When Peter does get in the inside like that, he just can't make anything happen.
Right hand to the head. Deep breath.
A capacity crowd of better than 12,000 on hand at the O2 World Arena in Berlin, Germany. And they are seeing their favored fighter, who is favored in this fight, Vitali Klitschko, way ahead of Sam Peter.
You know, a point worth making is that the last time we saw Vitali Klitschko against Danny Williams in 2004, he gave a performance very much like this. It was a dominating performance in which he really controlled the fight.
Oh, he was very impressive in that fight against the Mike Tyson conqueror,
yes.
Danny Williams from England. All right, round 8, and I'm telling you, Al, Sam Peter is reaching a point in this fight where he has to be thinking, I got to put this guy away. He is so far behind right now.
I think he's lost every round, so he would need multiple knockdowns or a knockout, obviously, to win this. And he has shown no inclination to throw enough punches. Now, there's a couple of double jabs. They were short, but he didn't move in behind those jabs, Peter.
Blood started flowing from Peter's lip midway through round 5. His eyes are swollen. He continues to miss, or he's just too far away from Klitschko to land. Now finally some aggressiveness from Peter, warded off by Klitschko. Generally this crowd, better than 12,000 as mentioned, seems kind of quiet for as impressive as Klitschko has been. Of course they come alive when Klitschko does something. That jab repeatedly scoring by Klitschko, just a pesky jab, stays in the face of Sam Peter. Keeps him off balance.
And you know what Klitschko does? Just enough movement to give Sam Peter angles. That's what you need to do against him. He's not using a large amount of lateral movement. He's certainly not quick of feet. He's not a Larry Holmes, Muhammad Ali mover. But he's enough lateral movement to create angles, and he's able to hit Sam Peter at will because of it. Sam Peter also has pushed his punches tonight. There's an example. His jab is pushed, his right hand is pushed. They're just not thrown appropriately.
You know, if we said at this point of the fight there is a concern about conditioning, about stamina, which is the fighter you thought we'd be talking about?
Yeah, of course, the 37-year-old Klitschko after a 4-year layoff.
It's Peter who is sucking air.
And it's because he's been hit with so many punches and taken so much punishment. Again, you see the right hand just pushed by Peter. And as this fight goes on, of course, his technique really getting worse.
Finally, a left hook landing by Sam Peter. He had to lunge in to get it done. About 15 seconds remaining in the round. Final seconds of round 8. Another one for Klitschko.
Klitschko doing what he has done all throughout this fight. Each round is a mirror image of the one that preceded it. Now there, Sam Peter tried to throw a jab. It was a very lazy jab, and Klitschko countered it. What's very impressive about what Klitschko has done, and I'm sure impressing his brother Vladimir, is the combination punching of Vitali. It's been very, very impressive during the course of this fight.
Nein, die rechts über und cross, okay? Tiefer stehen. 73 für Vitali Klitschko.
Keeping your card from the outside. Huh? What? So what? What you say? What you say?
It looks like Peter has said stop it. He doesn't want to continue out, and that's it. It's all over. It's all over. Vitali Klitschko with a successful comeback as Sam Peter has quit on his stool in Germany.
You know, there are so many parts of this that are improbable. It's hard to know which one to lead off with. The precision of Klitschko, the fact that Peter gave such a lifeless performance and stopped on his own volition. A lot of issues here.
So after round 8, this one in the books in favor of Vitali Klitschko. Stunned looks on the faces of the Sam Peter people, his manager Ivalo Gotsev. And once again, this could be the product of the open scoring, because the fighters, like the fans there in Berlin, able to hear the scores announced. So maybe he just figured, hey, I'm just too far behind in this fight, and there's no cause to continue.
Well, that would raise an interesting issue about the idea of open scoring for this reason. And of course, hugs and kisses all around for the family. Sam Peter still had a puncher's chance, and he is a puncher. So at any given moment, he could have scored a knockdown or knockout. But this man produces an astonishing comeback after nearly 4 years off from the sport.
But interestingly, it could set the as Vladimir Klitschko goes crazy in the corner there. Now, they're the only siblings in boxing history to hold world heavyweight titles at the same time, and there's the big embrace between Vladimir and Vitali, but it could set the heavyweight division into more of a malaise because the two brothers have vowed never to fight each other, so they can't unify, Al.
That's exactly right, and so for people that talked about excitement in the heavyweight division, in their minds this may feel like a setback, but you have to give Vitali, of course, credit for a great performance, and the question is, what does it do for the division, and does it help it move along? But he doesn't care, and nor should he. This man gave a great performance.
Ladies and gentlemen, the red corner retires. Referee stops the contest at the end of 8 rounds. The winner, der Sieger und neuen Weltmeister Vitali Dr. Eisenfaust Klitschko!
A completely lopsided victory for Vitali Klitschko, who wins back the WBC Heavyweight Championship in front of his adoring fans in what has to be described as a non-compelling fight, a listless performance by Sam Peter, who loses his belt by quitting on the stool after round 8. But what a tremendous story for Vitali Klitschko.
And I think there are a couple of headlines. One, how sharp Vitali Klitschko was. Yes, it was a good style matchup for him. Yes, Sam Peter has some defensive liabilities. He was as sharp as he could be. And the other headline, this is a fascinating thing when you really think about it. He has 36 wins as a pro, Klitschko. 35 have come by stoppage. That's impressive.
And both of Peter's losses at the hands of these two men. Vitali Klitschko on the left, Vladimir Klitschko on the right. A career is resurrected, reborn. In his first fight since December 04, Vitali Klitschko reclaims the title. So there you have it from Berlin, Germany, our same-day coverage of Sam Peter versus Vitali Klitschko as we welcome you back live to the Palms in Las Vegas, Nevada. Coming up next, our main event, Antonio Tarver versus Chad Dawson for the IBF Light Heavyweight Championship. And before we get to that, our Steve Farhood had a chance to speak with the winner, Vitali Klitschko.
Vitali, 4 years off. Is there any way you could have imagined that you would be as effective as you were in this fight?
Thank you very much for everybody for support. Today was not easy fight. After 3.5 years I come back. It was not easy fight. It was not easy preparation. I have in past time so many injuries, but right now I'm totally healthy. And I show good performance in the fight. I make my long year dream together with Vladimir to be the same time world champions. It was never in history. It's very important to be the first one.
Did you feel physically any different than you did 4 years ago?
No. I have my skills. I can lose my skills. I'm totally healthy. If I'm healthy, I can show very good performance.
Now, no one in boxing history ever did what you did. 4 years away from the ring, come back without any tune-up and win a championship. What does it mean to you personally?
If you want very much, and if you have big will, and you have support from your team, from my brother and from my family, I can do everything.
Now, you accomplished your goal, which was to reign as heavyweight champion the same time as your brother. Is there any reason for you to keep fighting, and will you keep fighting?
You know what, it's just a couple of minutes ago the fight is over, and that's why I'm not ready to give you an answer. Give me time, please. But anyway, we have one more dream. We have one more belt. Not in family, not in Klitschko family.
But you will never fight your brother, so we cannot unify the titles, correct?
WBA belt.
Vitali Klitschko, fantastic comeback fight. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you very much for the support.
And that was Steve Farhood reporting earlier from Berlin, Germany. We bring you back live to the Pearl Theater here at the Palms in Las Vegas in a non-competitive fight. Let's see how the official judges' scorecards looked for Peter Klitschko. And Al, it is astonishing that the Thai judge, Anek Hongtongkam, gave 1 round to Peter.
In all honesty, that's one of the more amazing things I've seen a judge do in years, because Sam Peter just had a terrible night tonight, and there was not 1 round he could have won.
Well, with open scoring, as mentioned during our call, we wonder if being so far behind on the scorecards affected Peter's decision not to continue. Our Steve Farhood spoke with Peter's promoter, Dino Duva.
Dino Duva, promoter of Sam Peter. Who stopped the fight, Dino?
Sam's corner stopped it, and I have to agree with them. It just wasn't Sam's night.
Was the open scoring any reason to do it because you knew he was behind?
No, I didn't need to hear it announced to know he was behind. I mean, it just wasn't Sam's night. He's a warrior. In my opinion, he could have and would have finished the fight, but it just wasn't his night. He wasn't really, from a standpoint of having a chance to win the fight, in it. And we believe in the mercy of a fighter, and we don't want to see anybody get hurt. And, you know, Samuel is the most important fighter in the world, and I agree with it totally. He'll be back.
Dino Duva, thank you.
Well, Steve, Farhood talked to Peter's promoter because neither Peter nor his trainer would come out. And Al, let's get your thoughts on the abrupt end to the fight.
Well, if, as Dino Duva suggested, the corner initiated the idea of stoppage, obviously Sam Peter didn't protest that. We saw him shaking his head. Now he didn't want to continue. But in his defense, he took a monstrous amount of punishment from Vitali Klitschko, who fought a brilliant fight after that long layoff. And so it's understandable that he may have just had enough. Obviously now, for those folks that are interested in debating the idea of open scoring, this may add some fodder to the debate because he was behind. But the fact of the matter is, as we heard, Peter certainly knew he was going to be behind whether he heard the score or not, and he's a big puncher, so we'll see.
And we should also point out that despite the fact that Peter was battered and beaten down in almost unmerciful fashion, he never actually went to the hospital there in Berlin, went straight back to the hotel. Yeah.